We are speaking on behalf of hundreds of NIH staff who are standing up together to say, we dissent. Because what is happening at NIH is so egregious. The harms that we're seeing happen to our research participants and to public health and to the institution of science are just things that we could not live with. And the NIH that I'm working in now is unrecognizable to me. Every day I go into the office and I wonder what ethical boundary I'm going to be asked to violate, what probably illegal action am I going to be asked to take. And it's just soul crushing. And that's one of the reasons that I'm signing this letter. One of my co-signers said this, but I'm going to quote them because I thought it was so powerful. You can get another job, but you cannot get another soul.
Hey, welcome to Inspired Earth. I hope that all of you guys are doing great. We've got a quick one. I think I'm going to start trying to do 30-minute videos and maybe even some shorter form stuff on other social media, like still linked to Inspired Earth, like 30 seconds to 60 seconds, and just see how that goes. And hopefully we'll get like a different type of audience. So I'm just going to play, we've only got 2 articles I'm going to read to try to keep it shorter and more digestible. And I've got a quick little video before we go into it. And I've got an article on new antibiotics and the Japanese artificial universal blood, which I'm sure most people have heard of already because it was pretty famous. But before I read those articles, I'm going to play a quick little clip from National Institute of Health, who I've read on this podcast multiple times, some scientists speaking out about what's going on. Basically, if you're a fan of science or you're a fan of facts or reality, it's been a tough time since Trump has been elected, and he's just had a full-on, blown-out assault on science. We are like cutting all of our vaccine research right as we have bird flu still going on. I mean, thank God we haven't had it worse, but they're saying that it's airborne now. So that's not good news whenever we take away the funding for the vaccine. At least if we had the vaccine, we could stay ahead of it. But now we're not even looking for other stuff. We don't even know if there's going to be another pandemic. So it seems like Trump is just setting himself up to be the president in charge during another pandemic. He's like trying to do everything he can to make that happen. And we're going to listen to some scientists raising the alarm about that real quick before I read the article. And this is going to be pretty quick.
Today, speaking to you in our personal capacities, we are speaking on behalf of hundreds of NIH staff who are standing up together to say, we dissent. Because what is happening at NIH is so egregious. The harms that we're seeing happen to our research participants and to public health and to the institution of science are just things that we could not live with. And the NIH that I am working in now is unrecognizable to me. Every day I go into the office and I wonder what ethical boundary I'm going to be asked to violate, what probably illegal action am I going to be asked to take. And it's just soul crushing. And that's one of the reasons that I'm signing this letter. One of my co-signers said this, but I'm going to quote them because I thought it was so powerful. You can get another job, but you cannot get another soul.
Approximately $9.5 billion worth of grants have been terminated already. That is money that has been appropriated by Congress. Those grants need to be reinstated now. Biomedical research saves lives, so of course we want to make it better. But coming in without any notion of how it's done and breaking everything, there's a cost to that. And that cost isn't just us. That cost is the American people and global public health more generally.
When you or a loved one has a condition that is life-threatening, you are always thinking about time. Because everybody's looking for a clinical trial, everybody's looking for a novel therapy when you're in that position when you might die, right? You're looking for that hope, and all of these cuts to NIH are taking hope away from people.
And it's particularly frustrating when we're being sold this lie that this is being done in the name of efficiency. Because when we terminate these studies, when they're 50, 60, 70, 80% complete, we aren't saving the $1 or $2 million left at the tail end of the study. We are wasting the $3 or $4 million that have already been invested.
Of course, Director Bhattacharya talks about having this open dialogue.
So, yeah, that was really good. I mean, you don't have more than one soul. I mean, you can't put it better than that. And there was an opinion article that came out about Elon Musk saying his legacy will be death and disease and starvation. And that's so true. I mean, like, the amount of money they've taken away from preventing HIV globally or any of these other pandemics or diseases, it makes me speechless. I mean, I can't believe that people will, I don't know, like I said, we're just going to have to like go through it and hopefully learn from this, and people are going to have to learn a really, really hard lesson. And it's unfortunate because a lot of the people that will pay the price are the ones that are already aware and trying to pay attention. So yeah, I feel like there's a burden on those of us in society to step up for the immunocompromised people or the disabled, as RFK's making a list on all disabled people, Palantir's making a list on all Americans, like a blackmail folder on every single American to present it to Trump, and that's all CIA linked, so there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe, and it's super frustrating that we're also unleashing all these pollutants and contaminants into the environment. In Texas, we are allowing like feces to be dumped into the river. We're going to start using fracking water to grow our crops, which is just unimaginable. It's really shocking. And then they're taking away the definitions of what are considered toxins, like the PFAS that we have covered on the podcast a couple times. They've now changed the definition of what is a PFAS, so there's just no regulating it in some places. It's pretty frustrating stuff, but we got to be aware of it and really make our voices heard on this. On that note, I'll also just round this off with saying that we had the successful No Kings protest recently, where there's like 12 million people showed up. The birthday parade, military parade, was an abysmal failure. A lot of the troops were not walking in step. That was like almost like the troops were saying, we don't want to be here, we don't support this, we don't support you. They were not even attempting to walk in formation or step. I was in marching band and ROTC and stuff in school, and we learned how to march way better than that whenever I was in middle school and high school. So it just goes to show that we literally have military people that cannot march as good as children. And that's just a fact. You can go and look at other countries' military parades, and ours was just abysmal and a complete failure. So it's kind of amusing. Trump's face during the whole thing was just scowling and super mad, and apparently he got mad and yelled at Hegseth and Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz. He yelled at them over their interview on Iran. So there's just a lot of breakdown coming from the Trump administration. Kind of like I talked about in the last episode, that I feel like the Trump administration is beginning to run out of steam. They're encountering a lot of resistance. And I'll just make one last analogy before I read the articles, that here in Texas, since 2016, 2017, or whenever, like the last 10 years, there's been this Trump train type of group that like goes around in trucks with Trump flags and like breaks traffic laws and like assaults people and spits on people, and like doctors say that like, their black patients can't make their appointments because they've been targeted by these like Trump trained people, kind of like KKK type people that just ride around looking for trouble. And if you were to put what's going on with like a Trump train type of analogy with locomotives, with the steam train, which is what's always depicted on their flags. You have a boiler in the front, and you put fuel into this furnace, and that raises the heat on the water, which raises the pressure, and that's what makes the train go. That's how a steam engine works, is through burning fuel. And at this point, I feel like they have like a hole in the engine, like a hole in the boiler, and they're losing steam, like I said. So they're just adding more fuel to the fire, which is what we saw with the National Guard, them sending out the Marines. They sent the National Guard out here to Texas, and it seemed like it backfired on them because it was just a total waste of resources. We had like 20 people die in a flood in the same city that the National Guard was at, and the National Guard wasn't helping at all. They were just out there with their grenade launchers and equipment and military gear. And so naturally, we're like, the people here were asking, why? That's just a giant waste of money. Why waste the money on the military sending them here when they didn't do anything? So that's them adding the fuel to the fire. That causes an increase in pressure. And as the pressure increases, they're trying to go faster. Eventually, the walls of the boiler, the walls of the train engine cannot stand the pressure anymore because they've made the heat too high and the pressure's too high. And the train will explode. The boiler will explode. And you can look up photos of that, of like steam boiler train explosions. They're pretty dramatic. And all the rods go everywhere. And that's what I feel like we're going to end up seeing happen with the Trump administration. The Trump train is going to derail. The boiler is going to explode. They're just pushing it too hard. I mean, you've got things going wrong with the train, and you're still trying to go beyond full speed. Obviously, it's going to break. So how that happens or when, we'll see. But it seems like there's a lot of resistance brewing, which is fantastic. I mean, we need resistance. That's what we just saw with these scientists coming out. They're saying this is going to like hurt many millions of people. I was thinking of going to school for public health, and all of this stuff makes me rethink all of that. Like, there's no jobs in public health right now. I'm seeing people going around trying to find jobs with degrees, and they just can't because Trump's administration does not care about public health. The more public health people we have, the more people that would be raising alarms about dumping feces into our water supply and using fracking water for crops and just like insane things like that. Obviously, that's bad. So that's what he's trying to prevent people from knowing about. So anyways, we're going to move on to the article. And this is from Science Tech Daily, SciTech Daily. The first in 30 years, scientists discover a new class of antibiotics from June 8th, 2025. McMaster University, and it says our old drugs are becoming less and less effective as bacteria become more and more resistant to them, explains Gary Wright, a professor of McMaster's Department of Biochemistry and Biomedical Science. About 4.5 million people die every year due to antibiotic-resistant infections, and it's only getting worse. 4.5 million people. That's a lot of people. Wright and his team found that the new molecule, a lasopeptide, holds great promise as an early drug lead because it attacks bacteria in a way that's different from other antibiotics. Larycocidin, I'm probably not pronouncing that right, that's just my best, binds directly to a bacterium's protein synthesis machinery in a completely new way, inhibiting its ability to grow and survive. This is a new molecule with a new mode of action. Wright says. It's a big leap forward for us. From soil to breakthrough. Larycocidin is produced by a type of bacteria called Panibacillus, which the researchers retrieved from a soil sample collected from a Hamilton backyard. The research team allowed the soil bacteria to grow in a lab for approximately 1 year, a method that helped reveal even the slow-growing species that could have otherwise been missed. One of these bacteria, Panibacillus, was producing a new substance that had strong activity against other bacteria, including those typically resistant to antibiotics. When we figured out how this new molecule kills other bacteria, it was a breakthrough moment, said Manoj Jangra, a postdoctoral fellow in Wright's lab. In addition to its unique mode of action and its activity against otherwise drug-resistant bacteria, the researchers are optimistic about lariocydin because it ticks a lot of the right boxes. It's not toxic to human cells, it's not susceptible to existing mechanisms of antibiotic resistance, and it also works well in animal model of infection. Wright and his team are now laser focused on finding ways to modify the molecule and produce it in large quantities, enough to allow for clinical development. Wright says because this new molecule is produced by bacteria, and bacteria aren't interested in making new drugs for us, much time and resources are needed before lariocydin is ready for market. The initial discovery, the big aha moment, was astounding for us. But now the real hard work begins. We're now working on ripping this molecule apart and putting it back together again to make a better drug candidate. Interesting. And I'm sure with AI, like we already talked about this, of them using AI to do this, and it's just going to get faster and faster and faster of making new drugs and antibiotic resistant or antibiotic that can defeat antibiotic resistance. We're going to move on to this was covered by multiple articles. I just went with this one because it was a little bit more concise. I went with Times of India on this one from June 13th. It just says TOI trending desk. I don't see an author, but if there's one at the bottom, I'll read it. But Japanese scientists have developed a universal artificial blood substitute that can revolutionize global healthcare and address critical blood shortage challenges. Artificial blood is an invention which serves as a substitute for real blood. With the World Health Organization highlighting a global blood shortage, this innovation could play a very crucial role in saving lives during trauma, surgeries, emergencies, and other medical procedures, if proven successful. If the clinical trials prove successful, Japan could become the first country to deploy artificial blood for real-world medical care by 2030. Japan creates virus-free artificial blood that can be stored for years. Professor Hiromi Sakai at Nara Medical University has pioneered this approach, creating stable, virus-free artificial red blood cells that can eliminate the need for blood type matching. According to the Japan Times, artificial red blood cells are produced by extracting hemoglobin, which carries oxygen from donated blood and wrapping it with an artificial lipid membrane, according to the team. The artificial cells have a purplish color, unlike the common red color of blood, as they are made in a way that do not oxidize it until they are used. I just want to say super quickly about extracting hemoglobin. I know I've talked about this before, but there's alleged evidence or theories that some of the cattle mutilation, chupacabra type of mutilations, or even some of the human mutilations from South America allegedly were extracting hemoglobin. Some people believe that, like Whitley Strieber, Linda Moulton Howe has talked about that. I'm sure there's others. So yeah, kind of going back to the whole missing 411, this is kind of an interesting little addendum that allegedly that's why the blood is being drained from these animals, is perhaps there's another species out there that could extract this hemoglobin or use it for very similar purposes. I imagine they're using it for very similar stuff if that's actually the case, but it would explain why these animals are completely mysteriously drained of blood, as well as some of the other organs. So I would say that's like a biomedical hint there, but the artificial blood technology centers on hemoglobin vesicles, small artificial blood cells that extract hemoglobin, the oxygen-carrying molecule, from expired donor blood and encase it in protective shells. Artificial blood offers several benefits over traditional blood donations. It eliminates the need for compatible testing, making it very useful in emergency situations, and can be stored at room temperature for up to 2 years, far exceeding the short shelf life of donated blood. Revolutionizing global healthcare. This technology could improve healthcare by eliminating compatibility issues and blood shortages, especially in remote areas where blood storage and matching are challenging. Unlike donated blood, these artificial cells have no blood type, eliminating... I feel like it's just repeating itself. That represents a significant humanitarian breakthrough, promising to ensure blood availability anywhere, anytime, and transforming global healthcare systems. The trial will initially focus on testing safety before moving to broader performance and efficacy targets. It will administer 100 to 400 milliliters of artificial blood on volunteers. The research represents rapid progress of Japan's artificial blood development program. Their program began with small-scale studies demonstrating that tiny artificial cells could safely deliver oxygen as normal blood cells do. That's interesting because I feel like we could also get a treatment for drowning victims or people who have asphyxiated. Possibly, if it could be delivered in the right amount of time, you could reverse a suffocation or a drowning, perhaps. But I'm sure that's really far down the line. But that would be a goal that I would look into if I was them. But so let's look at the time. 20 minutes, not bad. That'll give time for some music and stuff. All right. I'll try to keep them shorter, and that way there can be more of them, because I just don't have the time to make super long episodes right now. I guess one last news update is with the economy. It's tough out there. I just received my first pay cut in my entire life. I have been at this company for many years, and they're giving us pay cuts. So, obviously things must be really bad with the economy for them to be doing that. So, we'll just hope for the best and know that this will pass and that things are starting to crumble for the Trump regime. One last thing for you guys to maybe look into, if you're interested, is the ongoing court case that's now getting bigger and spreading. I think it originally was in Pennsylvania, that they said that they have statistical evidence of some sort of voting anomalies or a rigged election in 2024. I know Trump had said that in 2020 the election was rigged, but he had 70 court cases and never provided any evidence. Here we are with the first court case of the 2024 election, and they do have evidence. So we'll see what the evidence shows, but from what I've seen, it might be possible that the last election could have been tampered with. Which would make a lot of sense of how there's so much resistance in the nation to Trump, and yet he allegedly, quote-unquote, won the election. So we'll just have to see where the evidence and the court cases bring us in that regard. And good luck, everybody. Be safe out there, and I will find some more time to make another episode. I have a backlog of several articles I want to talk about, so adios, and we will talk again later.